Hello, Kris Gethin here, and I'm going to give you the 4 most common mistakes that I see when people are trying to develop their shoulders. Okay, number 1, when it comes to shoulder pressing, often I'll see people just come down to parallel and then lock out at the top. Now, what they're failing to realize is that you can get a full range of motion by coming down further. Yes, it's harder, but you're able to stretch that insertion point away from the origin of the muscle to get full round development. And if you stop just before locking out at the top, you are going to keep your shoulders engaged the entire time. Don't give them time to relax. You could hold them there all day. Keep them engaged throughout the entire motion. So that's why you'll see me do what's called like a 3/4 rep, but believe me, this 3/4 rep is much harder than what I would call a partial rep, okay? Number 2 is side raises. When you're doing side raises, try to forget about the name raise. Think about going out with your arms. As soon as you start thinking about raising, subconsciously, a lot of people target their traps, they squeeze their traps. So when you're doing so, think about going out to the side. So if there's a wall there and a wall there, think about just going out to those walls instead of raising up, so you can target the lateral head of your delts instead of targeting your traps and squeezing them there. Common mistake number 3, a lot of people think they get enough anterior delt development just from pressing, doing their incline press, doing their flat press, etc. You are not isolating this area. If you really want to have big full caps on your delts, you need to increase the illusion of that insertion point coming across your chest to give you that full round development, okay? So that's why I would suggest that you do several different types of front raises. That could be both arms at the same time, seated. You could do it standing. You could do alternate. You could do it with a barbell plate. You could do it with a cable, a barbell. You could even hold one of these dumbbells together and go up overhead. There. Squeeze and down. Common mistake number 3. Common mistake number 4, all right, is rear delts. A lot of people do not prioritize their rear delts. Instead, they'll start with side raises or front or shoulder press, but their rear head of their delts are weak. So I suggest that you prioritize this by beginning with rear delt raises. They could be done with cables, you could do it with a rope attachment, you could do it with dumbbells, various ways of doing it on a reverse pec deck. And what I would say within that number 4 as well is lighten the load. Too often I see people go too heavy when it comes to rear raises, and I just see them working their rhomboids and their traps, other muscles within the back if they're swinging, and they're not targeting the rear delt. The rear delt is a very small muscle, so it requires defined isolation. Maybe don't use a full range of motion at the bottom. Stop just before you come to the bottom, so you keep the rear delts engaged the entire time, and just work on that mind-muscle connection. Once you have that mind-muscle connection, then you can periodize up the weight and pyramid up to ensure that you get adequate mind-muscle when you add the added stress. So those are my 4 common mistakes that I see people performing when they're hitting delts and then they don't have any delts. But if you do it this way, you'll get yours.